What's up, you guys? Welcome back to Wide Body Nation. We just got finished drifting the Hellcat REDEYE with the Direct Connection Stage 2 package down at Mopar Heaven in Texas. And that is the second time we've been down there drifting. And that's the third real drift event that we have taken the Direct Connection Stage 2 REDEYE to with the Destroyer1320.com crew. And so I wanted to pass the learning on to you guys if you guys are considering getting into drifting and considering getting into sliding your car at like legal pits or kind of actual drifting. We've been doing the more actual drifting approach, but legal pits are great too because that gets everybody off the streets and onto the racetrack in some type of way, shape, or form. So with that being said, in this video, we're gonna get into tires, wheels, suspension, tools, cooling your car down, trucks, trailers, and a lot more that I had to learn firsthand from the drift community. And I want to just pass that on to you guys since there aren't a lot of Mopars in the actual drift community. There's a lot of Mopars in the sliding community, but we're moving into the drift scene, and I wanted to just pass the savings on to you guys so that you can be set up and not run into some of the issues we did. So with that being said, got my Destroyer1320.com hat on and an OG Destroyer1320 t-shirt. We protect all makes and models at Destroyer1320.com, but we specialize in Mopars, in your Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Rams. So as you guys probably know, your car can be easily stolen in under 60 seconds by the thieves breaking in your window and pulling your neutral release. So that is the primary thing we protect with our patent pending neutral cover plate. But we also offer a GPS KillSwitch among some other products that work on all makes and models, not just Mopars. So make sure you guys go on there. There's plenty of discount codes out there with your favorite YouTubers and also on our website. So we appreciate the support, and we are looking to prevent theft, especially for Mopars. So with that being said, I'll have you guys stop staring at me and we will just start talking. Now, the reason I have everything laid out like a buffet right now is because we just got back from Wham a few days ago. We got my new to me 2022 gas 2500 Laramie truck right there. Obviously, we have the Hellcat there and then the wife's car in the back right about there. So we're going to talk tires and wheels. We're going to talk fuel. I have a leaf blower out because that gets into cooling your car down and cooling your tires down. I also have my jack out. I have some other things in here that we'll be talking about. And then obviously the car is there as well. So might as well jump right into it. We'll start with the most important thing, arguably, which other than having a car to roast your tires and slide with, is actually having tires that you're okay with just absolutely obliterating. So I did a bunch of research on tires in a lot of the drift forums, not just for Mopars, but just for anything that is everything from 100 horsepower to 1,000 horsepower. And I found these tires after watching some YouTube videos. These are the full-way HP 108s, and they are a kind of a summer / all-season tire. You can see that they have some summer tire characteristics and some all-season characteristics, and they are the kind of bread and butter tire that we've been using for drifting over the past 2 years and 3 to 5 events. These are a 315, 35, 20, and they are only about $125 to $150 a tire, depending on where you get them and taxes and all that. And for a tire that is that large and is only $125 to $150, these tires are great. We have drifted all day on these and only gone through a couple of sets. Like literally, we went through 2 sets of these, so 4 tires total, drifting for 6 or 7 hours, which is pretty crazy, honestly. Obviously, we weren't sitting there just doing huge burnouts or anything like that, but as you guys can see in all the clips and the content I've put out recently, we were getting after it. There was plenty of smoke, plenty of sliding, and plenty of driving. And when you compare it to a nice tire like a Michelin Pilot Sport 4S, these are darn near $500 a tire. You can get 4 of these tires for the price of 1 of these. But we're going to talk about these babies in a second because this is what we're going to be running on our front from now on, or at least I'm going to test that out. So for the rear of your Hellcat or Scat Pack or whatever you're drifting, if it's a, you know, a heavy, high horsepower car, these big tires are actually a blessing because, yes, they're expensive, but because they're so large, so wide, they dissipate heat a lot better than your smaller wheels, which a lot of drifters will be like, oh, I go through 3, 5, 7 sets of tires in one event. Well, yes, they're hitting more angle, they're on faster courses, they're doing a lot, they're keeping them smoky the whole time, but their tires are I think they're always smaller. They're usually running 17s, 18-inch wheels, and they're running anything from a 245 to a 265, 275 width. And so that width is really helping you out. Now, I've got one extra tire here, and that other one is right there. Those are Falcons. We haven't used those yet, but it's another example of a kind of a mid-grade tire that is similar to the Pirellis. These have a very similar tread pattern to the Pirellis that come stock on this car, and the Pirellis are not bad either. Those all-season Pirellis are actually a really good tire for drifting. These are still the full-way HP 108s. They're about half-baked because we were hot lapping them at the end of the day, so they got cooked up pretty good. But if you're just getting started and you want to go kind of a low-cost entry and not change up the wheel and tire size of your Hellcat, which we have not. We're drifting on OEM wheels, and then we just replace the tires. These are a good tire to start. It's the full-way HP 108s, 315, 35, 20. Now, talking about, and the tire pressure we usually run is right about 30 to 32 PSI. And then once your tires heat up, the tire pressure is going to go up. And so then you want to keep dropping your tire pressure every few laps to make sure they're not going to get up into the 40s or, God forbid, the 50s. And then your tire might explode. Or your tire, if the pressure gets too high, will wear out in the middle right here. Now, as far as, we're going to keep talking the rear of the car for now, okay? So the rear of the car, we really haven't done much. I have a lifetime alignment with Firestone, so after every event and before every event, I just get the car aligned. So I probably do 4 to 6 alignments per year. And really, we haven't had any issues with the rear of the car. We don't have a diff brace or anything on there yet. We don't have any suspension components, and I'll talk suspension now. Now, these cars come with the active suspension that allows you to switch between, track, sport, comfort, or, street, whatever that is. And that's great for the stock car, but because the car is so heavy, and when you're drifting and weight transfer is so heavy, especially when you have multiple people in the car, that ends up creating kind of a panic for the suspension that comes stock on these cars. So we're not going to be doing a ton of mods to this car, at least this year. But the first thing on my list for drifting and sliding purposes is going to be a set of coilovers to go ahead and replace the stock suspension, because I keep getting the warning light in the dash saying service active dampening system. And even if I could get the active dampening replaced under warranty, it would just probably act up again, whether they replaced 1 or all 4 of the active dampening shocks. So I'm trying to just solve the problem kind of once and for all, rather than replacing the same part with something I know is going to have a problem in the future. So be aware that that is something you're going to run into, likely if you are going to go autocross or hot lap or drift or slide with these cars, which not a lot of people talk about. Although, Hello, I'm Jensen, which is another great drifting Hellcat out there, he does talk about it, so I appreciate him bringing that to light. Now let's talk front tires. So in the rear, you want something from like a 300 to like a 500 tread wear, usually all season-ish type tire, because you want that tire to last longer and to spin more freely. But you don't want it to be like a super high mileage tire that's going to be too hard. So you kind of want that 300 to 500 tread wear, which is kind of where these are at. I can't remember exactly what the tread wear is on these tires. It says it's somewhere on it. Tread wear right there, 380. So those are kind of on the stickier side compared to maybe a tire like that, which I think the tread wear on that one is closer to 500. Let's talk fronts. So I have these brand new fronts out here right now. We're using my original wheels for front, so you guys can see they're like the deep dish, my favorite stock wheel personally. And then we run these for the rears, just to kind of keep the ducks in a row. Like rear is the kind of the Hellcat OG, whatever number of spokes, 7 split spoke design. Very cool wheel, but then we run these on the front. Now, on the front right now, we have a Mickey Thompson street comp tire, and that is just a 305, not a 315, because I'm going to bring this up right now. I'm going to bring up why we are only running a 305 up front. So with the Hellcats, they got a lot of steering angle from the factory, but the inside of your wheels is going to get scraped up at full lock by your front sway bar. And I'll jack it up in another video that's just that we'll just do on the front of the cars, but your rims are going to look like this on the inside, because when you go full lock, this inner part of the wheel rubs on the front sway bar, usually on both sides. Now on the front right, there's also part of the frame rail that runs horizontally that pokes out, that really needs to be kind of grinded down and trimmed. So the inside of this tire is not only is the rim scraped up, but the actual inside of the tire right here is all gashed up. Not catastrophic, but it's also not ideal, if that makes sense. So when you do the 305 tire, then you get less scraping of that tire on the frame rail and on the front sway bar. So that's something just to be aware of, that you don't necessarily want to go as wide as possible in the front. These cars can run 315s in the front, but most of the time people aren't drifting and sliding the cars necessarily, and they don't run into that issue. But that is something you'll run into. On the front, you're going to want a 300 tread wear or stickier, more like a 200 down to a 100 even. I mean, I've seen some people running R888Rs on the front. Those tires are great, but they harden up. These Pilot Sport 4Ss are a super expensive tire, whereas those Mickey Thompsons were kind of a mid-tier tire, and those worked. But as we keep iterating and keep stepping the game up with drifting, the Hellcat, because of the weight and because we don't have a lot done to it, like there's no angle kit, there's no hydraulic handbrake or nothing like that, since it's on automatic, we need all of the help we can get with front grip. So that's why I went with these Pilot Sport 4Ss, because they are about as sticky as you can get without going to a race tire like a Cup 2 or an R888R or something along that, like actual race tire lines. And I really enjoyed tracking these tires on my Subarus. So I'm looking to kind of take that learning experience and put that on the front of the Hellcat with a very premium tire, because we've had those tires on for multiple events, whereas these tires will only last half a day at best because they're getting smoked and all that stuff, whereas the fronts, they're just getting leaned on really heavy, so you can see the tire starting to kind of discolor. And having gone through many significant emotional events, you can see like the tire was actually gripping on the sidewall and all that kind of stuff. So you want a pretty premium tire up front, whereas the rear, you can afford to kind of find what a cheaper alternative is for your car. So we talked about the rear. You want that higher tread wear rating, so like a 300 to a 500 tread wear, cheaper tires, because you're going to go through those really fast. And these cheap tires, the full weight HP 108s, they're cheap, but they're actually not bad. They're not as good as the Pirellis, and that's why I'm trying out the Falcons. But for every one of those Falcons I can get 2 of these, or for every one of these I can get 4 of these. So you guys can kind of see where I'm going with that. We talked about the fronts. You want a stickier, higher quality tire up front, and don't go wider than 305, because you're going to start running into tire rubbing issues in a pretty significant way. Like I said, follow-up video after that. When you go to an event, obviously you're going to want to bring at least one good jack, and I have these big Daytonas here. I usually bring 2 to each event so that I can just jack both sides of the car up at once, because a lot of times at an event the course will be uneven, so the outside of your right tire is going to wear faster than the outside of your left tire, and the inside of your left tire is going to wear faster than the inside of your right tire. So what we did is, you know, maybe the tires are starting to get a little cooked up in the way I just described. So we would just jack both sides of the car up and then switch the tires left to right, and then you get almost double the life out of that tire when you wear it evenly like that. And that's the even tire wear is very important. All right, so we talked about jacks. Let's talk about fuel real quick. Obviously, you're going to want to run high quality fuel. I always run 93 in this car. That's pretty obvious. But this car also has the direct connection stage 2 kit in it with the dog barking aggressively in the background. And you guys can see I have the tuner right here. It's a rebranded Diablo tuner. And we have Boostain right here, which I'll talk about Boostain in a second, because I have the option now with this car to run either the 93 octane, or technically it says 91 octane tune, but it's really, it's 93 octane. And that gives me about 837 horsepower. And then if we want to, we can run the 885 horsepower tune as well. You can see the Mopar Heaven stickers and our Destroyer 1320 VIN cover for privacy purposes, obviously. So with the direct connection stage 2, you can see right here, we have a smaller upper pulley, which I believe is the same pulley as on the Elephant. So that's how we're getting an extra about 80 horsepower. I have my JLT S&B filters, V2 cold air intake, right, with the box. And it's not bad. I did heat wrap it with, heat insulation tape to try to bring IATs down a little bit. That might have gotten me 5 to 10 degrees lower, but not a huge difference. I even wrapped a lot of the box, as you guys can see, kind of right here. You can see the box is wrapped as well. Decent job on my part, but not the best. So with that being said, having the option to run 2 different tunes has been good, because we did actually try out a really nice tire. We had the Nitto 555R2 G2s, which I believe are only a 300 tread wear rating, and we ran those on the rear on these rims at Slush in 2024. And Greg, who was driving the car for me at that event while I was running and networking and all the good stuff that I do, he actually did need the 100 octane tune to get those tires nice and broken loose, whereas with the full ways he preferred the 91 or 93 octane tune. But the whole time we were running Boostain. And I understand that this video is long and very technical, but I'm trying to give you guys like the actual stuff we're doing that has let us drift 3 or 4 events all day very successfully. So this is the Boostain professional octane booster that we run. I do one of these per tank of 93. So when the car is getting low, about a quarter tank, I'll pour one of these in, and then I'll pour about 2 jugs of fuel of 93 in, and that will go ahead and top it off to just about full. And then I'll have plenty of octane. That maths to like 102 or 103 octane, not just 100. So the Boostain, having this octane booster is preventing knock, it's preventing pre-ignition, and it is just giving that fuel the quality it needs to just straight up hot lap this car all day. And so I do recommend it, even if you're not running a direct connection pack or you're not running a tune or anything. Even if you have a stock car, I would highly recommend getting a few of these cans and at least putting half a can in per tank if you are drag racing or drifting or sliding your car, because your car is going to get hot. And so it's going to be more susceptible to pre-ignition, to knock, to all of the negative things that we associate with when engines are being high-strung and run hard. Give your car the chance to run right, even when it's hot, and give your fuel the boost it needs. I'm not currently sponsored or anything by them, but having the direct connection kit, that's how I got introduced to Boostain, and it has worked well so far. It also gives your car a little bit of a spicier sound to it. Just you know, part of that I think is the tune, part of that's the exhaust and the intake, but part of that is the fuel that you run in it. So we've talked fuel, we've talked tires and wheels and suspension. We talked about how I need to get coilovers because the car is acting up. Let's talk cooling. So I have my leaf blower right there, and you're like, why the heck do you have a leaf blower? Are you doing yard work? No. So not only do I have a leaf blower, and the garage is kind of a mess right now because we're doing home renovations, but as you guys have seen in drag racing pits, I also got this kind of carpet fan that is to cool mainly the engine down, the engine and the trans, you know, the oil temps and all that. And then we also have this, you know, pest control type weed sprayer that holds about 2 gallons of water. And by water, I mean ice water, because you want to be able to apply ice water to places like the entire front of your car. When we come into the pits, I spray the ice water on all of the vents right here and on this skirt right here, and sometimes I even do it on the supercharger. Don't tell Dodge, but that cools things down rather rapidly. Sometimes I'll even spray it on the hood so that the next run out, the front of the car is physically cooler and it's wet with ice water, so that when the driver is driving, not only is cold air going in, but it's getting a lot colder because of that ice water being there right at the vent to the oil cooler, right at the radiator, right at all of those things. Now we also use the ice water and the blower fans, whether it's a leaf blower or a carpet fan or whatever it may be. We also use that. We use it to cool the engine down, so I'll blow in right around the block and this front area. I'll blow it in even while the car is just sitting and off. That accelerates the cooling so that it can drop temps down from a little too high to down to a more normal temperature before you go out for the next run. And that's worked well for us. Now on the tire department, you can use those fans to cool down your tires even if you're just sitting in the pits, but the water is more important. We spray the entire tire up in here and around the actual rim itself, and a little bit on the rim right here, to go ahead and just keep things cool. That also heat cycles the tires to harden them up, making them last longer for your event, whatever you might be doing. So I cannot recommend it strongly enough to at least bring your leaf blower out there. I just bring it out there with some Milwaukee batteries, and then get some type of way to apply ice water. So there's some coolers back here behind my pack out. I bring a cooler just full of ice and water, and then I fill this thing up sporadically so that every time we come back into the pits, I can spray down tires, I can spray down the car, the whole front of the car, you know, keeping it away from the electronics and some of the important areas, but I spray down the car so that it can cool itself down, even if it's not running or driving at high speeds where it is normally designed to cool itself down, because heat is going to be a big problem for you guys sliding and drifting your Mopar, since it's so heavy, it's got so much power, and you're driving it so hard. Now, let's talk oil quickly, because that's another important part of this thing here. And this is what we've been running for the most part. Sometimes I'll have the dealership change the oil with the Pennzoil, the OEM stuff, but when I'm changing my own oil before and after each event, I do the AMSOIL Signature Series synthetic motor oil. This stuff is not cheap. It's like 20 or 25 bucks a quart or a liter, whatever you want it to be. But one of these is 20, 25 bucks. And this takes a little over, it's between 6 and 7, depending on whether you drain the oil cooler or not. So I always buy 7 quarts of these just to make sure I have enough. And I started building up a little extra stock just in case I need to top it off or whatever it may be. But this is the oil we've been running. And so far, it's seen some pretty high temps. I won't tell you what the temps have actually gotten up to. But this oil is, you can run this oil for, it says for 25,000 miles. We do about 1,000 to 3,000 miles because we're just running this thing so hard. But it makes me confident to run this car hard when I know it's got the top of the line oil in it. You guys can try to change my mind in the comments below on what the best oil is, but this is what we've ran. The car's got almost 18,000 miles on it, hard miles of drag racing, roll racing, and drifting and sliding and Hellcat stuff, and this car is crushing it still. So that is the oil we have been running. I changed the oil a lot myself. This car, like I said, it's at 18,000 miles, and we are probably at oil change number 8 or 9 right now because of the events that I've been going to and just what we've been doing with the car. So oil change is roughly every 1,000 to 3,000 miles with an average of 2,000 because of the events that we've been going to. All right, so drifting wise, that's pretty much it for the car. You know, the car, like I said, the next main like modification that's not just kind of servicing the car. The next main modification is going to be those coilovers. I probably will need a new supercharger belt in a little while just to go ahead and make sure that we don't have any issues there. But that's more of a maintenance item. So another thing that I see a lot of Mopar owners don't usually trailer their car, which is cool to the daily driver. But I would recommend, if you're going to get serious about sliding your car, about taking your car to pits or racing it or drifting it or anything, you got to get a truck and a trailer, because the amount of stuff, I mean, just this stuff alone to bring to an event, that's going to be hundreds, if not thousands of pounds of gear. I mean, these jacks alone are probably 100 pounds each. Each of these tires is about 50 to 60 pounds. You get a bunch of fuel. You get all your stuff. I bring tools to the track. I have multiple mechanics toolkits, like my Craftsman right there, like my Pittsburgh there. And then I have my Cobalt one in here that has all my impacts. With all the tools that you're going to be bringing, you need a truck. And honestly, if I'm just going to be totally transparent with you, I would get a 2500. I don't care what, Chevy, Ford, Ram, GMC, whatever, but you need a truck that can handle a couple thousand pounds in the bed and in the cab. And then you need a truck that can also tow your heavy drift car or race car, whatever it may be. So, you're going to be towing probably 10,000 pounds worth of stuff when you factor in a 2,000 to 4,000 pound trailer, a 4,500 pound car, and then a couple thousand pounds worth of tools, tires, fuel, etc., and then your butt, maybe your friend's butt, and a couple other things, luggage if you're going to a far event. So a 2,500 is going to be, a 250 or a 2,500 is going to be in the range of truck you're going to need to actually go and support yourself at an event and not be trying to bum tools and break down because your truck's overloaded and all that stuff. I usually, with trucks and trailers, I like to usually overdo it so that I have room to put things and weight, rather than being like, oh crap, my truck is squatting and I'm about to break my truck before I even get to an event. So that's just a little tip for you guys. Take it for what it's worth. As far as the trailer, Hellcats, especially the wide bodies, are very wide. This car is about 79-ish inches wide, especially when you factor in the wheel width. So you need a trailer that is at least an 82 inches in width by a 20 foot in length. If you go any smaller than that, you might not even be able to fit your wide body on the trailer. And I highly recommend getting a 10K trailer. So that's 2 5,000 pound axles minimum. So that trailer is going to weigh between probably 2 to 3,000 pounds off the rip, which goes against that trailer rating. So if you get a 7K trailer, which is rated for 7,000 pounds, that trailer is already going to weigh 20 to 2,200 pounds. And then you just putting your Hellcat or your Scat Pack wide body on there or narrow body is going to max the trailer out. And when you're towing, maxing things out is never a good thing to do. It's just really rolling the dice. So a 10K trailer at minimum, 20 feet in length to cover. This car's about 16 feet long, give or take, depending on if you're counting wheels, bumpers, blah, blah, blah. And so you want enough room to center up your car on the trailer. I always back my car onto the trailer because I am doing it by myself usually, and you will not really be able to pull your car on the trailer to the front because you only have about 1 inch to 1.5 inches between the wheel wells of the trailer, and so you need these mirrors to go ahead and center yourself if you're doing it by yourself. So I'm kind of a one-man show here by myself at the house. You know, my wife is doing other things, and she could come out and watch me load the trailer, but I like to do it myself because I'm usually doing it at 10 o'clock at night or whatever stupid time I do things. So heavy duty truck. It doesn't have to be a dually, a 3500, nothing like that. It doesn't have to be a diesel. I just have a 6.4 Hemi, and I got about 11 to 12 mpg all the way from here to Texas. So it's not like you're gonna die on gas if you have a Hemi, because you're just towing a car and tools. You're not towing a house. You're not towing a 40-foot fifth wheel. You're just towing a car, a 10K trailer, and a couple thousand pounds of you and your tools so you can support yourself at the track with you and hopefully your buddies. So with that being said, that pretty much covers this video as far as where we're at, what I've learned, and where we're going in theory, or, you know, pretty much in reality with this car. The only other modification that I'm really looking to do, if it becomes available, is AAD Performance. Not only do they have a lot of rear and front suspension components that are mainly for drag racing and stuff like that give a lot of adjustability, but they're also allegedly coming out with a angle kit for these cars, which would really help me out with giving me and my drivers a more of an option for angle and for control, just like we talked about with the stickier front tires, the less sticky, cost-efficient rear tires, the tune options, the good fuel, the ability to cool the car down rapidly, even in the pits when it's not running, and kind of so on and so forth. So really just looking at suspension and suspension components as far as future modifications, because, you know, the car is still rocking, Hellcat REDEYE, plenty of power, direct connection stage 2, all good. I do need a new filter because this one is kind of bleached out and dry and dirty, so I'll probably just get a new filter at this point because I've already cleaned that one a few times and I don't want it like collapsing on itself. So for drifting, for learning to drift, make sure you guys go to a drift event where there are instructors present that can help you just do the couple things that you're probably not doing correctly. They will be there to help, to narrate, to instruct, to show you how to do what they're telling you to do to go ahead and actually drift your car and not just do donuts with it. So I cannot recommend Urban Racing. I cannot recommend them highly enough. They are great. I met them last year at Mopar Heaven. I bought whatever their instructor package was. So I brought my car, my tires and everything, my gas. And then Jamal and Greg got in the car with me. We did a couple laps. You know, I did okay. I did a couple turns. I couldn't really link them together. I spun out a few times. And then I tossed them the keys. And then they went ahead and kind of showed me what they meant by the tip in, what they meant by, you know, trailing brake, and just kind of using the tools that you have in your car, even if it's a stock car. They were able to show me what they meant by that and actually prove to me that it was possible to go ahead and like drift your Mopar on an actual drift course and not just in a pit setting. Now the pit settings are good too. Those are kind of the places where I go to just kind of work on car control, to be able to spin out and not go off track, or ideally not hit anything. And so the pits or the skid pads are good for learning, but when you want to make progress, you got to actually practice how you want to play, and you got to get on a drift course, and having an instructor in the passenger seat and someone who's willing to maybe even drive your car for you a little bit to go ahead and show you what right looks like, that will help your learning curve go a lot faster. So maybe it would have taken you years and years and years to figure out. You could probably go to 3 or 4 events with an instructor and go from not great to pretty decent. So that is the thing I forgot, and the thing I would recommend the most, as long as you kind of know that you got some tires, you know, you changed the oil in your car, you're good to go. Take your car to an event where there's instructors, and they will help you go from 0 to hero a lot faster than if you're just sitting there like, crap, I just spun out again, or crap, I can drift a corner, or I can do a donut, but I can't transition the car from a left-hand turn to a right-hand turn all smoky and cool like the semi-pros and pros do it. You know, it's possible. I mean, you guys have seen it in my videos. You put the keys and the wheel in the hands of the right people, and they shred these cars pretty close to what real drift cars are doing. But, you know, obviously it's limited by the stock suspension and some of the stock components and the weight, too. We got to drop some weight out of this car. That pretty much wraps it up for this video. We're going to go ahead and keep documenting Hellcat and Hellcat drifting stuff. It's been a learning experience, as you can probably tell, and we're just here to try to honestly get you guys onto the track. And I know the track is more expensive than doing it on the street, and so that's why I'm trying to give you guys some tips and tricks to go ahead and try to minimize cost and not have yourself get stranded at your first track day without a truck and trailer or without a jack, or, you know, all this stuff sounds silly and obvious, but it's really not, because I've seen plenty of people not do it the right way, and then their day is ruined or their event is ruined. So appreciate y'all for tuning in. Make sure you check out Destroyer1320.com. Every car, in my opinion, needs a GPS kill switch. I have a GPS kill switch on that car. I have 2 here at the house in the garage. I'm going to get a GPS kill switch for the wife's car installed by my local audio stereo shop. Same thing with the truck. I'm doing both of those mods before I get either of those cars tinted, because that is where my priority is at. I would love to have tint on the cars, but my first priority is theft protection, theft prevention, and just general peace of mind. Because, I mean, with the kill switch, I can give you my keys and you're not taking the car. And I like that about the kill switch. So that being said, Destroyer1320.com. Thanks for tuning in. Stay safe out there, and I will see you guys in the next video.